Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with not Miles Duncan this week. Miles is off vacationing out in Guatemala, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. We got the one and only Tanner Draper, former All-American safety at CSU-Pueblo, former coach in the RMAC most recently. Draper, I call him Drape. Sorry, guys, we know each other a little bit. Draper, how's it feel to be here tonight?
Hey, man, thankful for you to reach out to me. Like I said, dude, that call, I was like, man, there's nothing that I love to talk more about football and the RMAC. Two great things that go hand in hand. Power football, that aggressive defense style football, you put them together. Man, it's just been a blessing the whole career. 7 years of playing at Pueblo, coaching for 3 years after that. Man, I've been thankful. Looking for the future, though. I mean, we're going to be back in the RMAC somewhere. I guarantee you. I love that. I love that conference.
RMAC for life, man. RMAC for life. Well, let's just jump right into it. The game of the week to me, in my opinion, New Mexico Highlands. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me remove that. That's a slide for next week. The game of the week, guys. New Mexico Highlands gets their first dub of the season over Shad State, 33-30 ball game. They pull one out. Really, at the end, Shadron's kicker, Wilson Yee, ended up missing one to tie it up to go to OT. They come away with the dub. Coach Tiafosa's first win at New Mexico Highlands. And just, it has to be really uplifting, starting out 0-5, losing can wear on you. I just think it should be highlighted, and it's a big-time performance from Joey K. 12 for 17, not over 200 yards, but he does his thing on the ground as well. I want to shout out to Neil Nichols, dude. We talk about the top receivers in the league. It's always Reggie Retzlaffs, the Max McLeods of the world, the Flynn Sheelys. But this guy, he just produces week after week. He's Joey K's number one target, and he's always there. He comes up with 100 yards again, another 2 touchdowns. And then this freshman, Tavita Valetti, another 100-yard day on the ground. He gets in the end zone. He's a load, dude. He's just a load. Tough physical football. Their defense really came to play this week. I want to say that this is their lowest output that they've had all season, and they get the big victory. And I think they might have the snowball effect. They still have yet to play Fort Lewis. They still have yet to play Adams State. So they may still have some victories on the horizon. But this first one, I thought we should highlight. You looking at this game, what are some of your takeaways?
I mean, you kind of nailed him on the dot, man. I mean, Joey, he's sneaky, man. He's sneaky athletic. You see him out there, you look at him, you're like, man, who is this guy? And then he starts playing, you're like, whoa, respect, right? You going out there, man, that running back, just go into the whole scheme, go to their scheme, right? We talk about the number one team in D2, Hardin semis, right? Or Hardin, I mean. Hardin, they run this triple option power veer, type of offense, and you see New Mexico Highlands, they show the flashes of it. They want to run it. They want to be in that. Once they get those kids, those grinders, right, just downhill players, man, they're going to create more space, more wins in the future. But as a coach, man, they always say the hardest thing of being a coach, taking over a new program, is getting that first victory. So, big shout out to coach out there getting that first victory. Like you said, that snowball effect maybe taking over. My favorite saying, when you get a victory and you're not that program, right? Like I was in high school, one of my coaches said this was, we won this game on Saturday, right? Monday when you come, you practice like winners. You practice like champions. That's the standard now. You got that taste of a W. Now let's go rack some more up. Let's go get some more up, right? So they've got big games coming up. Like you said, they've still got a few games to win, but they got a couple games they can upset too, right? Those little trap games, right? So you can't just always be okay with being, okay, we got one win, right? You got to amp it up. So I bet their practices this week, they've been just revving it up, one more, add that one more period, right now you're at that time where it's like 24 periods, you're close to when you're going to get that 18 period mark, and we get to have a little bit of cool practices. Add one more period on there. Make it like the golden standard period, right? We're going to do conditioning. We're going to run 100 gassers. We're going to run 10 gassers, whatever. We're going to give it 100% every time. So that's what we expect now that we're winners. So big shout out New Mexico Highlands, and even a shout out to Shad, man. Both teams, it was a shootout, both sides. They were playing. Shad They're a little bit different this year than we've seen in the history. We both know the history of Shad and what they carry on. It kind of goes back to them, once they get those players back. They're not really super senior leaded lead on the one side. They are on this side on defense, obviously. But once you get that over here, you start getting those points up. You have those few seniors over here that in the defense, you can hold it in the rally, get those points. They're going to score. It changes your program. So they're only a couple wins away, and they're only a couple players away. So.
Speaking of Shadron, hey, and that offense, man, I got to give a shout out to DJ Ralph, the SDSU transfer. That's a great stat line there, 23 for 31, 307. He obviously has the one pick, but hey, man, when you're tossing the rock around, sometimes the defenders are going to come up with it. But shout out to Shadron as well. Like you said, it was a shootout, but I'm sure they wish that. I'm sure Wilson, you wish he had that kickback. I'm sure he really does. But where Highlands is trying to get to, kind of that standard you were talking about, that gold standard, that's kind of what the Western Mountaineers have been displaying all year. And Drew Nash specifically, offensively and defensively, you see they're able to pass the ball, run the ball, as well as they get after the quarterback like no other. Coach Howard's defense, he just has a thing. We got Victory David here showing off the Jets, man. He's one of the fastest receivers in the conference. Maybe not talked about as much as he should be, but boy, he has the burners. He shows them off on that one. And then Western, they just wear on you. We got Kendall, the All-American linebacker, doing his thing always. We got my boy Dre Thompson flying up. Look, you run through the ball, not to the ball. I know you like that, Draper.
Hey. You know what I'm saying?
We got a little double play, we got a little trick play, double pass action. Western, they're just firing on all cylinders right now. Undefeated. Obviously, they still haven't played the conference's best, but week in and week out, they handle business. They're not ever, they're not ever in games that they shouldn't be in. They come in, they handle business. This game was like 28-7 at one point. Obviously, Black Hills makes it a little closer, but props to Western, dude. They don't seem to be it doesn't look like anybody's going to be able to stop them, at least at this point right now, especially if their defense keeps playing this way. Like Drew Nash, too, going 346. Like most this year, he's been showing off the running ability, the dual threat. But if he can sit back there and sling it like that, man, I don't know how you're going to be able to stop them, dude. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. Their defense flies around. Western looks amazing, dude.
I agree with you. AC, man, you're right there. I actually have Western kind of fighting for that top spot this year. I really like them. I will give a shout out to Drew Nash. Drew Nash for president. Drew Nash for president, baby. I got to go watch him play at WT, watch him in live. Drew had 3 of those rushing touchdowns, right? The kid can play both ways. And it's not only is he just like, oh, it's the scheme, right? No, he's going to go through 4 progression reads every time. Kid's not really that D2 quarterback that you see playing D2. He's got the IQ. He knows where he's out in the field. He knows the play and why we're hitting that play. And, man, just go into the scheming with what they do. They have a trick play every week. Go look every week, man. Every week. They've always drawn something up. You got to give it out, Thin air crew out there, man, always showing up. That's the blue-collar kids of the RMAC, man. I don't know about you, but I hated practicing in snow. I hated snow. And those guys are out there grinding, 70% of their days are in the snow, man. Like, big shout out. Hey, coaches out there, I love y'all, miss y'all. But, man, dude, this team, they're rumbling. They're all cylinders firing, and I can't wait. Once they play these big teams in the RMAC, we're going to get to see where they're at. But, again, they did play some good LSC teams in hostile territory. In a really violent crowd. Like playing at WT was insane. Dude, their student sections, 3 sections right behind your bench, and like just seeing the kids focus every play. They weren't turning around giving it to the fans. That's when you lose it, right? That's when you lose your mind. That's when you get taken out of the game. No, they were locked in every play. They had each other's back every play. If something happened, like something broke, you saw the whole team gathering. Let's go. Like you could that fourth quarter, that fourth quarter is going on. Everybody's going crazy. You look at WT, they're just talking over there. You look at Western, they're going crazy. They're supporting each other. They're having fun. That's where you're at the right type of football. When you're not stressed and you're not going out there just like playing football. No, you're playing football and having fun. You're a little kid again. That's all we're doing. We're playing a sport game that's for kids. So shout out to the Mountaineers, man. I'm excited to watch them the rest of the week, rest of the year. Man,
not a lot of fun on the other end for the Yellow Jackets, coming off the big revenge game, winning the Black Hills Brawl the week before against SD Mines. I'm sure they had to come into this game feeling really confident after getting that win and just feeling good. We're getting Western on our home field. They have a great D line. They have a great front seven up there at Black Hills. So I'm sure they came into this game pretty confident. And it looks like, I would imagine, Western's been running the ball extremely well this year. They had multiple running backs. You talked about Drew Nash. I would expect that Black Hills came in thinking like, hey, if we stop the run, we're going to be in this thing. I don't think they expected Drew Nash to go for 346 with no turnovers. He threw the ball 45 times and didn't turn the ball over.
And a lot of those, too, were like catchable, very catchable balls. He almost had a 40 out of 45 day, too. I mean, he played great, but we know what it's like, man. When you lose those games, you just get beat up. You're on that other side. You're just looking at how do we bounce back? How do we get here? Look at their record. They're 3-3. They're not under 500. They're right there. They're right at 500. We're still there. We're positive. We got more games. Just keep stacking them. Let's show what we can do against these teams that we got coming up. Let's get that upset and change what we have this season, right? We're right here. We're going to maybe miss the playoffs if they take 3 teams this year with 3 losses. But let's screw up other people's seasons. Let's go out there and let's start rumbling something for next season. So, but coach out there, he's going to get them right, man. He's a good guy. A couple of the coaches out there I'm really cool with, and they just, if you buy in what they're saying, they'll be a really good team. They've been moving up and up every year, so I
really love their whole model, the we over me. It's really dope, and I think that's being lost as football morphs and evolves. So big shout out to Coach Bresky and those boys. I hope they can get back on track this week. But moving on, we're going to check out your old school and doing what they do best, playing in your face, smash mouth defense and smash mouth offense, but a little bit different than the Pueblos of the past. These Pueblo teams can really, really light it up through the air. The Pueblo teams, I remember you guys running 12, 13 personnel. I know you got to love that guy. I know that has to make you smile.
Oh boy, man, that's my boy. DB3.
This is what I'm talking about. This added element to this offense. They can take it over the top at any moment, any play, any time. And that defense, when that defense is firing on all cylinders, man, they're scary.
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, it's built inside that culture. When I first got to Pueblo, man, I'll tell you, first day I was already expecting to be at this standard, and V-Hills came in and taken that standard, and now it's going to the top. Right, we're going to the top. I love the bandwagon. I love watching my brothers, Daniel right here coming down, Noah, man. I love watching them, dude. But, man, we've been talking about Pueblo's firing all cylinders, right? I think we got to start talking about these 2 quarterbacks that are firing on all cylinders for Pueblo. I mean, it's created a little controversy there, don't you think, AC?
I do. I mean, Roman Fuller, starting quarterback last year, Chance Fuller's little brother to transfer from Tulsa. He's a baller. He is a baller. It's undeniable. But I mean, Devin Larson is he's a baller as well. What was that TD to INT ratio?
He's at 16-3 right now.
How do you bench a guy?
17-3, sorry.
How do you bench a guy that has 17 touchdowns versus 3 picks and has started every game for a 6-1 team that lost by 3 to the number 2 team in the country?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this off stream, on stream, man. Like, dude, it's actually like a blessing in a weird way that you have 2 guys that can run your offense and run it very similar, get yards, get points. But just we talked about the loss that they had, right? It was still a close game. They could have won that game
easily could have won that game.
It goes this way. I mean, football is a game of 3 to 4 plays, right? So you erase those plays, it goes either way. But you also got to think maybe you add Roman into this little per first 4 games, what does it look like? Are we undefeated? Are our yards crazy more? But like it goes back to it. That's just the blessing of having 2 quarterbacks back there that can do it all, and just having the guys that can do it all, man. I mean, you got an offensive scheme that does it.
Man, look at Russell Howard. Another game, 135 yards, 100 plus, another touchdown. His yards per carry this year has to be insane, dude. Like, he's getting 100 yards. They didn't even touch the ball 20 times, man. That's explosive. Reggie Retzlaff, we talk about him every week because every week he goes off. 10 for 158 and a touchdown. Pueblo, I will say, this game, obviously you guys seen the highlights. It seems like Pueblo won resoundingly. Fort Lewis was winning this game heading into the half. So obviously these Pueblo teams aren't the Pueblo teams of before, but you, as a former Pueblo guy, did you maybe have some little nightmares creeping in there, thinking about times that you visited Durango and maybe didn't go your way?
Man, I'm telling you, when I saw that scoreboard say 14-13 at half, I had a flashback. When we were in Durango, we were in the basketball gym as a locker room, down 33-14. I'm pretty sure we were undefeated going into this game. Man, it's just that trap game I talk about in general, man. Like, when you're flying up here, you look at the team down here, you take that week off, you do something, and you don't mean to, but it carries over. Like, you just see it. We weren't flying around, and Fort Lewis, they're a way different team than what they've been in the past couple of years. I mean, yes, they got their 1 win this year out of the 40 games. They've been pretty close to busting a couple different wins out of there. I mean, they're right here. You're taking a 6, or at the time they're 5-1 team. You're leading at half. You got to be in the locker room, like, juiced up. I don't know if they dress up in the aquatic center or whatever there too, but I know I always wanted to jump in that pool one time, but couldn't do it. But man, that's just a good feeling for you, man. That kid Stone Walker over there, man, just great play caller back there, man. I mean, he can do it, and as long as he's back there running it, Fort Lewis has a chance every time.
Oh yeah, man. I gotta give them a shout out. Just like you said, being in a game for a half with a top 15 team in the country it's saying something, especially when you look at where Fort Lewis was at heading into this season. They were on like the 39 game, like heading into, it was like 30 plus game losing streak. They've come so far this year. Obviously, they obviously want to win. You don't want to lose. Nobody wants to lose. But I think they're making a lot of progress. I know you gotta love their linebacker, Jacob Pitty, dude. He's leading the conference in tackles. He lives in the backfield, and he's a true sophomore, dude. That's the thing about Fort Lewis that I think Fort Lewis fans in general, you got to take these lumps, but like, you have a young team with some really good talent. They're going to mature in these coming years. Like, you're watching it happen with Mesa. The past 2 years, Mesa was losing games that were winnable for them, and now Mesa's winning those exact same kind of games just because they have that experience and whatnot. I think this game is going to go a long way in giving Fort Lewis some of that experience they need to really get back to like being a program. Like, dude, when we were playing, Fort Lewis we weren't thinking that they were going to win the conference every year, but you knew they weren't like a pushover team. It was going to be a game. I never went into a Fort Lewis game thinking like, oh yeah, we're about to blow it. We're going to score 70 points. Nah, dude, they're going to come and play physical football. And I think they're slowly but surely starting to get back to that. Obviously, they probably want to pick it up on the ground game outside of Stonewalker's legs. That's probably the next step. But that's the thing with the young old line, dude. Just they need time to lift. They haven't had enough time in that weight room. But I think Fort Lewis, they're making progress, man. They've scored over 20 points a few times this year. That was like crazy last year. So I give them a lot of credit scoring 24 on Pueblo. Obviously, it got away from them as the game went on. You would expect that with Pueblo's depth, like we were pointing out, having really 2 backup quarterbacks. We didn't even mention Stephen Crowell, who can also play, who's also started games. But I still think this was a positive sign for Fort Lewis. And before we go, always, I got to shout out my guy, Oli. Best video, man. Him and Amelia Lucasen and Oli up at Pueblo. chef's kiss to you guys. You guys kill it every weekend with the videos. My boy Giancarlo last week for CMU versus Mines. All the people that give this video, big shout out to you guys. I wouldn't say that because that was the last video we had for the night. But our next game, the Battle of the Techs. I expected Mines to win this game convincingly, coming off the loss at Mesa. I know that one had to sting really bad. And I know that was a long drive back down I-70 back to Golden. So I expected them to come out and kind of impose their will. And that's exactly what they did. They had a 28-3 lead going into halftime. SD Mines obviously scored some points in the fourth quarter, but that was probably against 2s and 3s. So typical Mines effort. This is how Mines has been. At home, they're world beaters. On the road, not so much. So I wasn't too surprised with this one. I do think it was cool. I was watching the broadcast. Miles talked about how Colorado Mines recruited Jake Martinelli really heavy out of high school. He ended up going to SD Mines, but I thought that was really cool for him to finally get that start and whatnot. But, just a typical Mines effort. Max and Flynn go off. Shout out to Will Ramsey, Defensive Player of the Week in the conference. He started this one with a pick six on that first drive to really set the tone, and they never looked back. Yeah.
They're studs, man. I mean, that's like we talk about culture with Pueblo, the culture of Mines, what they built. I mean, that is also a golden standard team. I mean, that was a team that me and you both guarantee we looked at that schedule game going, yes, that's
the one. Right there. That's the one.
It always happened to be my first couple of years is our first game of the year. So pumped for it, and man, you know you're gonna get their best. Like you said, they are truly world beaters when they're on their own turf. Like it's just different playing there. It's nasty, man.
The vibe, the fans, it's the atmosphere. It's lit, dude. Golden's a different place, and you always played them at nighttime too. You always got them on like that Saturday or Thursday night games. I'm like, ooh, I know that one's lit.
Dude, my first ever college game, man. We put on Thursday. We're supposed to kick off at 7. We had a rain delay. Kicked off at 9:30 at night. Freaking lost 70-7.
That was that Dvorak, like that was his. I'm winning the Harlan Hill game.
Yes, and that was a stud. But we go back to talk about the quarterbacks, man, from what they've had and how Evan carries that on. I mean, the drop off from obviously your Heisman winner to Evan Foster. There's a difference, right? That he is not of the same category, but he's very much can put himself there because of the way they build it at Mines, man. That their passing scheme, the way their receivers are just coached, like 7 steps, 7 yards. Watch their film. They are coached to do it exactly to a T, and that's what makes them really unbeatable. Because they're not going to beat themselves. That's part of football. Don't beat yourself. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. You won't see that from Mines, man. They come out every week, and you know what you can get from them. But when they play on that away turf, there's something there that's just like, hey, we can get this. We get that one goal, score ahead or whatever to start out with. Get a little rumble. You never know what's going to happen, man. And I mean, you were talking about their defense. Their defense, man, they fly around all over. They're going to have 11 hats to the ball, and that's what makes their defense equally as great. It's not just one player every time. That's just kind of been their motto. It's not one player. Last year, wasn't the whole box was first team all conference? Like, I mean, look at them. They're studs all around. They're smart. They're the nerds, man. I mean,
they're very similar to Western in the sense of like, dude, they go like 5 or 6 linebackers deep. Like all of them could go be like the guy and a leading tackler on like another team in the conference. Yeah. And they're loaded, dude. They're super, super loaded. Yeah, man. I think it was expected, but they still got questions to answer. Obviously, we want to see them on the road again. What do they look like the next time they go on the road? It's going to be at Adams, so maybe not that one. But that Pueblo game looms that coming up down the line here in a couple weeks. That one's going to be big, and that is going to be. Don't get me wrong. Stoker looked like it was lit last week, but I don't think it's going to be lit how Pueblo and the Thunder Bowl is going to be lit when Mines comes down there. I believe they're doing the 10th year anniversary too for the Natty. That's going to be a big one, but obviously. you can't look too far ahead. They had SD Mines here in front of them. They handled business, and I think they deserve some credit for that. On the SD Mines side, like I said, Martinelli, he didn't play bad, 25 for 40. Probably could have played a little bit better, but he was up against it. But shout out to Henry Dryden, man. He was a first team all conference tight end last year. He's never going to have too many yards or whatnot. But what I think is so cool about him is when they drive down to the red zone, every DC has to know, oh, they're looking for 88. And yet every time they're in the red zone, 88 gets open and catches touchdown passes. Like, I don't know how he does it, but I got to give him credit, dude, because he gets in the end zone week in and week out, and I know he's the guy that coordinators are looking to stop and whatnot.
And that as a safety, it's like, how do you not see the big guy running down the field, right? I'm locked on this guy. How do I not see him? How does he get lost, man? But dude, their wide highs are great. Like the way they set up that whole scheme, it's
you know what I think it might be? If you remember in years past, he's a ginger, so he had the red coming out. So it was like it's easy to find him. He cut his hair. He doesn't have the red sticking out anymore. He's hiding it now.
He just blends in now. Man, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. But man, like you said, he finds space. He finds space, but he's that guy that's in the trenches. He's getting you yards on a block. That's what you would love from a tight end. And he's going to get his head in the turn, and in there, and he's going to put his hands and he's going to run you. He might not get you 5 yards down the field, but he's going to hold his block every time. And I mean, that's the type of football players you need. And you talk about Jake, man, he's young. He's young. You're telling 40 passes to this guy? I mean, 40 passes. You're trusting this guy to throw. Or is Jake the senior? He's not.
No, Jake was the senior that he never got to play because they had
That's right.
Johansson. They had Johansson.
That's right.
I mean,
on that. That's right.
They do trust Martinelli. That's why, because he's been in the system for so long. Like, if you watch them throughout the year, like, dude, he's had a couple games where he's gotten close to 60. Like, their Michigan Tech game, I know he had to have thrown over 50 passes that game. So, I'm sure his shoulder probably hurts a little bit.
I got it right here, man. Devin Larson's got 208 attempts, man. Martinelli's got 301.
Oh, man.
I mean, I've had 6 shoulder surgeries, man. You ask me to throw 5, I might be done for the day. You ask me to throw 301, 7 games into a season, coach. That rehab on Sundays doing work for the kid. But hey, you got to respect the way they come out, and that fan base, man, playing at that stadium is it's a little different. We were talking about
last week. It's totally different. Well, I've only got to play there once, and we won big and convincingly. So I don't feel like I got the full experience of, like, they were honking at us in the beginning of the game. And then, like, midway through the first quarter, it was like we were doing what you said teams shouldn't do, where you turn around and you talk crap to the stands.
And they're right there cooking. Like,
they're right there on you, dude.
Dude, I almost wish I could. That guy. He's cooking right there. He knows what he's doing. He's doing. He's making those guys turn around. I took a burger my freshman year. I got my first pick ever on that field. Got my first ever pick 6 on that field. I got my first sack ever on that field, man. Like, wow. I'm telling you, like, playing there has been special to me. But playing there on 3 homecomings on top of that, and seeing it just crowded, dude, it's a blast, man. The students over there, they get it. Their band, they have a guitar in their band. There's not a guitar in their band, man. I mean, that's a place to play, man. I mean, it's so funny. You pull up and you're like, man, there's not many seats. And then second quarter, you look, you're like, dude, there's at least 1,000 cars parked around us right now. Like, what is going on? Like,
I think Coach Floor in time. I think SD Mines eventually they're gonna tip that scale and, like, really be near the top of the conference. Just they play good defense year in and year out. They're never gonna have a bad defense. The offense is always going to be productive as far as numbers and statistics. It's just about winning some of these type ball games, and I got to believe if Coach Floor just stays at it, they're going to get there in due time.
Yeah.
But speaking of the team that's starting to get there, it's like we're watching it right before our eyes. But this Mesa team, man, week in and week out, I tell you how good this defense is. They're young, but this defense is for real. But now the offense finally came along and exploded along with them. 52-10. Man, I got to give Mesa big credit. I got to give them credit, too, for they had 3 first-half turnovers and still put up 24 points and still held Adams to 0 in the first half after giving up 3 turnovers. Man, Mesa has it rolling. I kind of expected after getting a dub like that over Mines, a monumental win like that, that's like a program game-changing win. And I think it is. Like, I was there in Alamosa. You could tell, like, that team is walking around with a whole new confidence, with a whole new swagger about them. And it's just dope to see, especially like me. I lived in GJ when a lot of these kids, like I was living in GJ when a lot of them got recruited, so I know a lot of them on a personal level. It's so dope to see it all just start to come together, especially for Coach K and his staff too, man. I don't want to glaze too much on Mesa, but man, I was happy to be a Maverick alumni this weekend, watching them take it to town on the Grizzlies.
Man, I'm right there with you. I'm a Thunder Wolf. I graduated there, but I'm a Maverick Wolf, man. They're the first place I got to go, truly learn the opposite side of football and like being that leader. And dude, from the first day, the first practice to where they're at now is just monumental steps, man. Wow. But you just gotta say, like, this is what you take when you go 2 years ago and you have a team that's mostly freshmen, sophomores. Now you're 2 years with that experience. You want to talk about, we were talking earlier with Fort Lewis. Here's that experience, right? Last year they lost to Mines 52-0. 52-0. They take that experience of pain in that game, take it all off season, take the challenge. How are we going to be? What's our mindset? Coach Scum out there in the weight room, man. Oh, brutal, man. I know you know how he was. You're playing back there. Like, dude, there's some days we're walking in, it's Friday. We got 10 sets of 10 on squats. I'm like, whoa. I jumped in a few times to get in them. But, man, shout out Coach K. Shout out Coach Matthews out there, Wick. The Schultzes, man, Holmes, Hill, guys, Levy, like those guys, they deserve it, man. The hours that we put in on the outside of football, man, like you don't realize that as a coach, you're doing 100 hours just prepping, just like I have the best game plan. I know I got it. Now, can we put it in plan? Like, can we put it in place? They've got it. They've been doing this day by day. This isn't just like overnight. Here we are. They've been growing and chopping wood. That's what Coach Matthews out there likes to say a lot. Keep chopping that wood, right? Keep chopping that wood. Eventually, that big oak tree is gonna fall. We're gonna get to build our cabin. We're gonna start building our land. We're gonna go crazy. Those Mavericks out there, they're gonna start doing great. Shout out to my boys out there in the DBs. Keep locking it down out there. Proud of y'all, man. Miss y'all, but man, go to the opposite side. What's missing from Alex? What we look at last year when they played, their defense was just so it wasn't star-studded, but it was just, dude, they flew around, they made plays, they put their offense back into position to get in these games. And if you look at this game right here, they got 3 picks. Where are the points? Like, you're not even getting 3 field goals. You're not even getting, like, it's got to be something right there. You got to take a step back. You got to look at it like, man, what's not firing for us? What do we got to do to get our first win of the year? We talked about Fort Lewis getting that first win of the year. How do we get our first win in a while? But how do we get our first win? How do we do it? Man, you gotta maybe add another 2 periods practice. Hey, we're gonna go hard. These 10 minutes, we're gonna find a way right here. And it might be that 5th kid in line steps up and makes a play, and now the coach is like, oh, let's give this kid a shot.
I think for them, it's just getting a full game out of the defense. Like, the defense comes out in the first quarter firing on all cylinders, forcing turnovers, strips, interceptions. They've done it against the Mesas. They've done it against the Pueblos of the world. It's, like you said, not capitalizing on that. And then I don't know if the defense is getting discouraged as the game goes on by the fact that, you know how that is as a defense. You force a turnover and then it's a 3 and out, and you're like, well, damn, what are we giving the ball to 50 for? So I don't know if it's a lack of focus or whatever, but it's like you see the flashes from Adams in the beginnings of these games. On the offensive end, I don't know. AJ Morita, the freshman, he has a little kick to him and whatnot, but they're not really having too much success through the air, which is just so surprising to me. Like, you played Shad just like I did, and you played Adams all those years. Like, that's their thing. That's always their thing, passing the ball. So them not being able to do so it's kind of mind-boggling. And I don't. This isn't like an indictment on Chase Nelson. Look at his stats: 20 and 28, 144. The one pick sucks, but 20 and 28 is not bad.
Right, you're right there.
It's like, are we not taking enough chances down the field? Is the offense? Do you not trust the line? Like, is it all quicks? Like, I don't know what they need to do, but I'm just not used to seeing Adams offensively be like this. Dude, my senior year when we played Adams, it was 74-72 ball game.
Yeah. Yep. We played them in a crazy game my senior year, and they played a tight end at quarterback. They had that was the game where that kid got hurt, so they had to bring the tight end, and we were like, oh, this kid's gonna run. Dude threw for like 200 plus on us. We were like, what? Like, man, I just pulled up their box score of this game. Just kind of going in the deeper facts, man. Like, possession time is a big thing. Mesa having 31 minutes to Adams having 25. It doesn't look massive, but that 6 minutes, it is something. That's probably that 6 minutes right there in the second quarter where Mesa's pounding, and you're just like, man, I'm tired. Dude, I'm getting ran over by this guy every play. It's like, can we get some type? And then you look on the offense, they're 3 of 14 on third down. If you want to keep possessions alive, you want to score, you want to keep your defense off the field, you got to play complementary football, right? We can't just it goes hand in hand. Offense can't have a 4-play drive and then give it to a defense, and defense has 13 plays, and the defense can't just keep extending the drives. They had 14 penalties, I believe. Yeah, 14 penalties for 119 yards. 9 of those on defense.
That's undisciplined.
That's giving a chance for the next opponent. Maybe you got to stop. You got that third down stop, and we got a penalty, and now they're extended. They just got a field goal. They just got something, and it breaks you just a little bit. And that's where the little things of football you just got to focus on, right?
Do you think? I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here and just thinking of ideas. But like, do you think maybe to get a spark, they maybe take a little bit of notes from Highlands and try to implement a little bit of a little veer action, a little
something back there. I mean, give something that makes that defense, because the veer is so hard to stop because you don't know who has the ball, and everybody's just coming at you so fast. They're just coming downhill, right? Like, Adams, you watch it sometimes, right? Like, their line will slide 4-1, and then they'll slide 3-2, but yet the guys that are sliding opposite are missing the one guy that they're sliding to. And it's like, man, maybe you take out that passing from backside, get the run going, like you're saying. Let's get some veer, let's get some power eye, let's bring old school football back, and let's open up the pass lanes.
If passing, my thought process is if you can't get your passing game going and you can't get your running game going, running a typical offense, I mean, maybe why not? Like, dude, even if you don't have necessarily the guys in roster built to run that like at its optimum level, that offense alone just presents challenges to a defense that if you don't see that stuff every week, it's hard. Like, you have to be very detailed and assignment sound when you're playing any team like that. And if you're not, like, say it's the quarterback is running and he has the pitch option and you're the quarterback man, but you go for the, like, those little things can get you killed. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing. I just don't know what Adams can do. It's like I've seen them start fast. They started fast versus Pueblo. They were up 10-8, I want to say, like after the first quarter versus Pueblo. They were only down 3-0 and they had already first turnovers in this one. That second quarter got away from them, but I don't know. I don't know what they can do to shake it up, but I'd like to see Adams try to do something to shake it up. Or they may, I mean, I don't want to say that they're going to not win a game this year, but I mean, as these weeks go on, it looked like your window of opportunity shrinks every week. Yep. So, speaking of opportunities in the weeks moving along, we got next week. The two big games that probably stand out most to me, I'm thinking that I want to say Black Hills, CSUP. I want to say SD Mines, Western, but I wonder, are both of those games going to play out for SD Mines in Black Hills the way that they did last week? Like, let's take a look at this SD Mines games. They went and played Colorado Mines. Like we saw on that, they didn't really get it going until the fourth quarter against the backups and whatnot. I'm just going to say, I think Western's defense is just as good or better than mine, especially when you take into account just the scheme that Our runs and the way he sends his stunts. Like, there's always a free guy coming at the quarterback. I just wonder, is this going to be a really rough day for Jake Martinelli back there? They're also going up to Gunnison, too, which is, you know about that elevation.
It's hard to breathe up there, man. And they got that new stadium now, too.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that thing's a beast.
Yeah, it's rocking out now, dude. They got like, I wouldn't say that they didn't have the student aspect before, but like you can tell the students up there are energetic, excited. Like this is gonna be a rough game for. Well, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a rough game. It's not looking the best for SD Mines having to take the long trip up to Gunnison.
Right. When you look at like the chapters of the book right here, two things that stick out to me that are scary right off the bat. Right, offensive scoring for Western. 39 points per game. Defensive scoring for South Dakota Mines, 30.9. Total offense, 463.5 yards. Total defense, 439 yards. If you want this game to be close as a South Dakota fan, coach, player, defense has got to be the big key this week. Defense comes out, they make some plays. Give the chance to the offense, but you've got to show on defense you can stop this rushing. You can stop this passing. You can stop Mr. President Drew Nash back there decide what he's going to do. He might look at his fourth read and say, you know what, I'm going 65 down the sideline. How are you going to stop Drew Nash, man? But, man, that defense, that's what you got to look at right there.
I'll say this. I do think SD Mines has one of the better front sevens in the conference. I think Hunter Newsome he's one of the best middle linebackers in the conference. So I do think, seeing how Black Hills front seven did against Western, they really shut Western down as far as running the ball. Western didn't do what they wanted to do on the ground last game. But SD Mines back end has been their Achilles heel this whole year. And, you know, had Drew Nash not went for 346 last week, maybe I'd be like, will SD Mines pose problems with them being able to shut down the run? But seeing him come off the injury and go for 346, seeing that passing offense light up like that, I'm leaning towards Western. I do think SD Mines, I don't think they're just pushovers. So I never give final scores, but I'm going to pick Western to win at home. I think the long road trip, and I think Western's front seven is going to get after Martinelli. I think he's going to be running for his life all day.
I'm following you right there. I got Western. I got a close game starting out, probably 10-10. And Western being Western, they're going to take off. Probably going to be a big score there, but Western winning.
Next up, Black Hills going down to Pueblo. I'm going to say the last time Black Hills went to Pueblo, it was a really close game. If I'm not mistaken, maybe, was it last year or 2 years ago?
I think it was last year. I know the last time they came to Pueblo and played me, dude, that was a close game. And we had Black Hills the last 4 years, like blowing them out, and then they came down and it was like, whoa. But that goes to the credit of the coach, man. We got a head guy like that with the neck like that, man. You're gonna follow him. Like you're gonna follow him. Oh, he can yell at me, and I'm running through 3 semis right now, coach. I swear to you. What do you want me to do? Like that's a team like. They're another blue-collar team, man. We talk about Western, but Black Hills, same thing. 70% of their practices are either with bees swarming around or snow. It's like you choose, right? You playing that game up there where it was like super snowy? Or
I was already done by then, but just playing up there, period. It's cold. It's not like it's not pleasant. I know it's not nice Monday through Friday up there practicing, but I mean, it's going to be tough sledding versus Pueblo, dude. I like their quarterback a lot. I think Luke Doobie, he has an ability, like he doesn't get sacked a lot. You know, he can invade with the best of them. Earlier in the season, I thought that just the first time I saw him, I was just amazed. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy he's gonna tear things up. Hasn't panned out that much. Hasn't panned out the way I thought it would. But I mean, he has no help really with the running game. You're only averaging 78 yards a game. It's kind of all on his back. And that's tough. That's gonna be really tough against the CSU-Pueblo defense that I'm sure they're gonna be pretty pissed off after being in a game with Fort Lewis. I'm sure the Daniel Bones of the world were not happy with that performance, win or not. I'm sure Pueblo's going to come in, with a little chip on their shoulder this week. What do you think?
I'm a very similar way. I mean, Pueblo's definitely going to hold that standard, and they're going to come in that, hey, we didn't play to our standard. It's time to get up and get on it, right? That defense is really the carry to them, right? You keep Black Hills under 78 yards and rushing, you're going to win this game. That is Black Hills' identity. They want to run that pin pull. They want to get it outside. Let that running back get. If you can stop that, Cody ramming, Scipio, New Sheet, man, sliding around, Bones running around, making plays, you're going to start making them throw the ball. And now you're going against one of the deadliest secondaries that you're throwing them birthday cakes every time. Mm-hmm. Any one of those kids covering right there can be a 99-yard touchdown, or it's like they're like that. So you got to think that's where Fossey's going this week. We're going to stop this run. We're going to bring a lot of pressure with our front guys. We're going to make Cody go out and be Cody, make him be great. Let Dom be in the middle. Let Dom Feeney cook it a little bit. He had 3 sacks, last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, he went off.
Let him cook again. Let that D-line cook, and it's going to be different. So, yeah, I got Pueblo definitely. It's gonna be a Pueblo, I think, a landslide. But if Black Hills can come in and they can dominate in the rushing, they can win the trenches, we're gonna see something different. But that comes on Saturday, right? We're only guessing.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I got Pueblo winning this one comfortably. They're gonna be at their home field. I think they are gonna be pissed off about being in the game with Fort Lewis. I don't know if you had caught the radio show, but Coach Beal talked about making them do barrel rolls and stuff for like 500 yards. I know they're just going to come in, they're going to come in real motivated. So I think they win this one big. What'll be interesting is we're going to keep watching this quarterback situation. Like at this point, should we start counting attempts between the two of them?
Maybe looking at it like that, yeah. The attempts, you can't really look at like the starters anymore because that's rough. I mean, nowadays you go 1-1, but I mean, maybe you look at how many drives they get. Hey, he's got 7, he got 6. Hey, we might also just be looking for stuff here. I'm just, maybe they're blessed with 2 quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, we're just digging.
Maybe we're just digging. But hey, shout out to them. They're gonna go out there. Looking forward to watching this game.
I'll also be interested to see, can Howard Russell keep up this insane pace he's on against I do think Black Hills, look at that rushing defense. They're not really rushing the ball for much, but they don't let teams run the ball on them either. That front 7 is serious. Is Howard Russell going to keep this up? Because, I mean, man, he's on a tear right now, but those are the matchups.
Howard Russell down here, baby. I mean, D1, D2, they're the same kid. I mean, I'm right there with you. How do you stop him? You watch him go left and right, and everybody's diving. One of my favorite kids to watch, Jason. He's making them miss tackle left and right. I'm like, wow, like there's something about that kid, but he's like a cat. He's never gonna land.
He what he kind of reminds? He's like a Maserati dude. He's he's just so smooth. Like the way he like when he cuts, it's not like it's explosive and whatnot, but it's smooth. It's not. It's just he flows, dude. I love his game, but like I said, we're gonna see because Black Hills that front 7 is serious. Collier is a big boy. Richie's doing his thing. Cooper Brown, they got some dudes, so that one will be interesting. But I do think Pueblo will win it pretty comfortably. This one, I don't think anybody's on the road or not. I don't think. I think this will be the week that we see Mines play like Mines on the road. 100%. Adams, I'm not trying to disparage them or anything, but you see the stats there. 53.5 points they're giving up per game. I imagine mine. Last time mines went up there, I think it was 84-7.
Yep.
So, I think mines is going to be pissed off every game the rest of this season. I know that Mesa one stung them bad because I know just where mines is at. They think that they obviously think that they're at a way higher level than where Mesa is, and with them being rivals, you're like, oh, our little brother. It's kind of how I used to look at Western, but when you lose to that little brother, it's like, oh man, that's a real look in the mirror. I don't think that they're going to lose focus again. I think if they're going to get beat again, it's going to be by a team that is of the same talent level or better. I don't think they're going to lose to any teams or be in games anymore that they shouldn't be in. So I don't think that this one's going to be very close. I expect Mines to jump out on them and put this one away pretty fast.
It goes back to it, though, and then this is a trap game, right? You take that one playoff on a Tuesday, it carries on the Wednesday, carries on the Thursday. That's what you got to hope. Mines, their coaching staff's harping them on that. We're not taking one playoff. We're not, we're going to be Mines football.
I'm sure they're telling him, you guys thought that Mesa game wasn't a trap game, and you effed around and found out.
Yeah,
right. I'm sure that is the messaging for the rest of the season. Like, see what happens when we don't play to the standard that we've set. I just can't see them. I could see them losing again, like to maybe a Western, to maybe a Pueblo in the playoffs, but I can't see them losing a game that they shouldn't lose.
Right. And in the first time in the last however many years, 7-ish years, Mines is actually looking on the outside in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They can't afford to lose another one. Right? Mm-hmm. If you've got 4 teams in the RMAC all playing very good football, I mean, you look at Mesa with their loss, right? Their losses, that's still against 2 of the top-ranked teams out there, right? Like, and they've got some big wins, so it's like,
I've been trying to keep it under wraps, but when I do talk to the Mesa boys, I tell them, like, you guys aren't as far off as you think. You guys hold pole position, but do you think maybe that might be good for Mines to finally not be the hunted for once? They've been the hunted for pretty much since we stopped playing, and even it kind of like right near the end of our careers is when they became the hunted, and they've rolled with that. And it's like, do you think it's probably nice for them now? Like, do you think that loss may have actually been a good thing for them?
I feel like it brings them back to being human, right? You just lost your RMAC streak that you had. We both have been in situations of this, right? Like when I was with Pueblo, we were at 9 in a row at one point, right? Coming in, Shad was that team that was like 12 in a row, right? And so that's the RMAC. It's going to rotate, and it really does help. When you're not being hunted, when you're not everybody's Super Bowl game, it's different, man. Like, so I'm not saying Mines is right there. Mines definitely is still high caliber team. They're up there in the top 3. And I'm going to push it, Mines and Mesa and Pueblo and Western all kind of being up there. It's going to shake out how it shakes out, but that's your top 4 teams right there. And statistically in the years, RMAC's been getting lucky to get even 3 in there. So now where do you look, right? You got 2 teams that haven't lost in the RMAC yet. You got 2 teams with 1 loss in the RMAC. What does that do for you, right? So I think it's a wake-up call. I think it's a challenge for Mines now. Go put 80 points again this week, right? Show everybody, like, not necessarily as a fluke, but you didn't get the best of us, right? Come see us in the playoffs. Come play. We'll play you in the playoffs. We'll show you game 2. And that's where they got to go now, right? You got to win the next 5. And, it's bad for Adams, man.
I feel really bad for Adams too, but for Adams, what do they need to accomplish in this game to start building something? Like, what are the things that you think they need to get done in this week specifically? If it's just one little goal, what would you like to see from the Grizzlies this week to maybe get them going in the right direction again?
Challenging in the trenches. That 75.3, it's got to be up, right? I want to see them take a challenge. Yeah, we're averaging 73.5 or 75.3 yards, but we're going to run the ball this week, right? And potentially, let's get some points off of that. Let's get our third down percentage to where we're not 4 of 17. Like, let's get up there. Let's be at least 50%. Who knows what extra drives get it to you, right? Like, let's make it a close game and get it there. But it starts with you got to run the ball. You got to run the ball. I mean, that's going to open up the passing.
You want to keep the ball away from them. You want to keep their offense on the sideline. So run the ball. And AJ Morita, the freshman, dude, he had a long one versus Mesa last week. Like, he went 10 for 85, but like you said, he only got 10 carries. How about giving him 20 carries? Those are young, fresh legs. You got Jordan Neeson, who's a young running back there. Let's get these guys going. 3 yards in a cloud of dust can win you a ball game. It can. If you play good defense and every third down, go for a couple fours. You never know. So, Adams, we want to see you guys make some improvements. And, yeah, dude, let's get it going. Let's get it going.
Let's get a W over there.
Our next game, what do you think about – look, I'm not sure as we're here at Showtime, I'm not sure if Stone Walker is playing or not. So my pick is heavily weighing on that. If Stone is playing, even though this front seven is the real deal and gets after people, I think what we just saw with Joey Cave last week, I think we could expect some of the same from Stone Walker in Fort Lewis this week. But the problem is we don't know if he's playing. What do you think? If Stone's playing, do you think they go into Chadron and win there?
I really do think so. We talked about before we got into this little segment about the big game of the week. This is personally my big game of the week. I see 2 teams who they're fighting and clawing, but they're building some type of identity. Fort Lewis truly is coming up, right? And they're gonna have a little snowball from last week, right? Yes, you lost, but you were winning the game. You play another 2 quarters, just like you played that first half. It's a different outcome, right? And so that's where they've got to open their eyes. Like, hey guys, we're right there. Let's just go right. Let's just open it. But Chadron, this is another scrappy team, man. Like, you're gonna have 2 teams. I really have this, and we don't talk about scores, but like, dude, I've really got this being like a 38-35 game, like shootout, man. Like that's just how I see it. And if Stone plays for Fort Lewis, that's going to give a massive advantage to them, and I guarantee it gives them a little bit of a confidence boost, right? Like, well, I don't know who their backup is. I don't know if the kids, maybe he's like Pueblo. You got 2 quarterbacks back there that are studs. You don't even know yet, right? But that's just, it really is a game time thing. If he's on the field, you really got to look at, okay, this is going to be a little bit different. But if he's not, you just got to think, okay, next man up mentality. Can Fort Lewis build it? Can that defense do what they were kind of getting to and then hold it on? And you go to Chadron and you look at it, and it's like we've had games where we've been within here, like really right here, and then it changes through the aspect with those 3-4 plays a game, right? So how do they put it together? This is a chance for you to get another win in a season, and getting W's in college football is hard to get. So how do you do it?
Looking at Chadron, looking at their numbers, like I don't want to come off like I'm making an indictment on them, but I'm just going to point out the truth. Last week's loss kind of is on the defense, right? Yeah. Giving up 33 points to a Highlands team when you gave up, 14 to Mines, a couple weeks ago? You're only giving up 15.8. So I imagine they're going to come in, really jazzed up. Hunter O'Connor, I'm sure he's going to want to get to the quarterback a couple times, get those sacks up. But if Stone's playing, man, he's elusive, dude. So this one's I know I'm going to have to make a pick while we're here. So with it being up in the air about Stone's health, I'm going to go with Chadron. I think their defense at home should have it going. They seem to play better at home. They're a little bit more, just a little more raucous on the defensive end when they're at home as far as getting to the quarterback and coming up with INTs. So I'm going to go with them, but I think it's going to be really close. And I want the caveat I'm going to say it on record. If Stone Walker plays, though, I got the Skyhawks.
Okay. Hey, right there, you got both sides basically, right? You're a bet man, taking 50-50. You just bet one guy $50, took $50 over here. You're winning. I get it. Hey, I'm taking Fort Lewis regardless. I'm taking Fort Lewis. Next man up mentality has to be a thing in your program. It can't be this is our guy every day, every week, and if he goes down, we're screwed. No, it can't be that drop off. So I'm taking the rolling that they've been on. How good Fort Lewis has been the last couple weeks, and they go get themselves a second win of the year right here.
Heck yeah. And our last game of the week, we got the Cowboys going down to Grand Junction to try to wrangle the Mavericks. My initial thoughts on this, Mesa's riding on the high highs right now. Big minds win, offensive explosion last week. But I think this game may be closer than people expect, just because Highlands is a scrappy bunch. They are coming off their first dub, so their confidence is going to be on 10. And Joey Cave he's a scrappy dude. I don't think Highlands wins in Grand Junction, but I don't think this is going to be a game like it was for Mesa last week, where it's 52-10. I don't see that. I think Highlands, look at that offensive scoring. They score more points per game than Mesa. Yeah. They're struggling on the defensive end, and Mesa's really good on defense. But they're Joey Cave is a dual threat, and like you said, the Veer presents its own problems. So this is going to be an interesting game, dude. This is going to be more interesting than I think people are expecting, especially with how well Mesa's been playing recently.
I'll speak on the Mesa side and go to the Highlands. Man, Mesa, you look at their scoring right now. I know it says 21 right there, but they struggled at their first 3 games, right, with scoring and stuff. They had their quarterback situation. Who are we going to play? What's going to happen? It kind of looks like things are shaking up, man. We were talking about Belgrave earlier. Like, if you can get him really going, and then you can get Greer out there making plays, and then that defense is holding the offense off the field, and they're not able to run the clock out, then you're giving your shot for your offense to win you the game. And then go on the opposite side, as Highlands, you have to control the ball. If you want to win the game, you got to be the higher possessed team, right? You've got to have that 31-minute game versus Mesa's 25. Like, it's just got to work out like that. But I really do see it, and this is another one. It's a trap game, right? It's a trap game, but it's a weird trap game because now we're looking at it. We're 4-2. We're up here. We're building up. We just beat our rival this week. We're looking at a team that's 1-5, and we're seeing 1-5. We're not seeing a team that just got their first win. They got that energy. Like I said to start the whole segment, right? You practice starting Monday as a winner, as a champion. So if Highlands took that challenge this week and practiced every period, every play, like they were winners, like they were going to go out and win this next game, this is going to be a shootout of a game. Like, it really is going to be a close one. Like, nobody's seeing it like that. But if the defense comes out, Coach Matthews has the boy rocking like I know he's going to have. That defense to stop that run. You got Charlie Smith running around being Charlie. Levon, if he comes back and plays this week, coming down, being a force. It creates a mismatch on that offense thing with a defense like this. It really does. But
I'll say this. Well, I know you like a little bit of fighting, so I'm gonna do a little bit of MMA math for you. These guys both played Shadron. Mesa scored 18 versus Shadron, and they were playing against the true freshman quarterback. Highlands beat them with the SDSU kid that looks like he's pretty good. Just a little bit of MMA math. So I do think this game has the potential to be closer than people expect. But I do think Mesa wins at home. I don't think Shadron has the defense I don't think Mesa does run the ball well. I think they're passing it like Liu. As week by week, it seems like he's making progress. The young freshman receiver, where my old number, Kazon Villa, he is a baller. He's doing his thing. You mentioned Noah Greer, but I don't think even though I don't think like I said, so Mesa's offense exploded last week. Prior to that, I thought that they were a little bit middling. That explosion last week, I take a little bit with a grain of salt because it was against Adams State. So I'd like to see it again this week. I'd like to see them, score above 28, 30 points again. I think if they do that, they win this game. I think if their offense reverts back and only scores a couple of touchdowns, maybe a couple, like if they scored 20 points, you never know, man. Because I think Cave, don't get me wrong, Mesa's defense is awesome, but I do think Cave, he's gonna have some success, man. That stuff is just hard to stop, dude. I saw him do it against Pueblo. I seen him do it against Shad last week. Like, if you look at his stats throughout the season, too, aside from the game he's missed, he just produces. The kid's a baller. So I think Mesa wins, but I think this game's gonna actually be a little bit close.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's gonna be a close game. It stays like that. Mesa.
Well, man. How was that, dude? How was it?
That was fun, man. I'm thankful, dude. Like this is something I love doing. Sitting down, talking about football. You can't do anything better. Now, give me the RMAC and football.
Hey, man. Do you think we can possibly get your services again next week?
Hey, heck yeah, man. Shoot me up. Let's get it going. Heck, if Miles gets back, all three of us rock one. I'd be down.
I would love that, man. Well, hey, for me, for you, my boy Tanner Draper, CSU-Pueblo legend, I'm Antonio Clark. It was great. I hope you guys have a good night. And, let's go enjoy some RMAC football this weekend.